Hello everyone, I hope you're doing excellent today. My name is Robert Samayoa and I'm an expert Google Ads account manager. Today I'm going to be helping you, I'm going to guide you and on how to create a Google Ads campaign for a local service business. So this could be that you service your clients within a certain radius or certain cities, very specific areas, or that you have a store that you want to draw customers in. So I'm going to show you how to do that effectively under expert mode, and that way you guys can be more efficient. If this is your first time creating a campaign, I'll also be going through an explanation of why the settings are recommended in certain ways, and that way you don't have to take my word for it, but you'll also have a better understanding of how everything's connected and why we're setting it up the way we are. So let's go ahead and start. First thing you want to do is have your account and make sure that you're clicked on all campaigns. And then what you're going to do is you're going to click on this plus sign. Make sure you have your campaigns here selected. You're going to click on the plus sign and you're going to select new campaign. Now, you may feel inclined to choose one of these predefined options because they sound really, really attractive, especially, for someone new, you're like, oh, wow, look, this says that if I click here, I'm going to get leads, or I'm going to get website traffic if I choose this option, or I'm going to get brand awareness if I choose this one. And that's great, but these are for beginners. Now, you're taking advice from someone who's managed hundreds of accounts over the years. So what I'm showing you today is not for beginners. I'm showing you how to create a campaign like an expert, which is obviously going to put you in a better position to get more quality leads at a lower cost. So you don't want to choose any of these predefined options that Google provides. You want to create a campaign without a goals guidance. When you choose this option, it'll allow you to have all the advanced features as you go through the process of creating the campaign. It's going to leave everything open to you, so you can manually select how it is you want the campaign to target and perform. So with that said, go ahead and click. And in here, yes, this is important that you select the right one. You want to make sure that you choose search because that's the type of campaign we're going to be using. It's a keyword based campaign where you pop up in the first results or the first 4 places of Google based on your keyword and the bid that you assign. So you'll select search. You'll skip these because the results are going to be are not tied exactly to this. The results are going to be custom made as we go through the process of creating the campaign. So depending on how your website is built, if it's contact forms or if it's phone calls that you want to get the most of, we'll be able to create conversion goals to track which actions are happening the most, and we'll be able to measure it differently. Great. So for testing purposes, that's what we'll name it. Now, this box is by default selected. Um, it includes the Google Display Network. I don't recommend this by any means. I highly suggest you opt out of it. What happens is that it defeats the whole purpose of being very specific because it all of a sudden includes your ad to be eligible to show on various other websites that are not google.com. And then if you do get traffic, which you most likely will, you won't be able to know what keywords are triggering your ads and what search terms the people are using. So basically, you're flying in the blind and you're spending a lot of money. Probably a lot of money will, more than what you'll get from the search, will go into the search network, and it'll ultimately hurt your performance because you can't act on it. There's no way really to know what website it was it that it showed up on, and what was it that triggered your ad to show up on it, and etc. So if we're going to focus on service ads and you want to target people within a certain area and you want to be able to get the best results, opt out of the display network, because if you want to do a display campaign, you can do that and you can create its own campaign just for that purpose, but don't get it mixed with your search campaign. Great. Now this is one of the most important parts. I've seen many even seasoned advertisers make this mistake. What you want to make sure you're doing, especially for local service, you want to switch this predefined setting to the second setting. Now let's take a moment to understand why, because you may feel that I'm not giving you the best advice since this says here that it's recommended. But let me explain to you why. The people in comma or, and keep an eye on this word or, who show interest in your targeted locations means that the person doesn't have to be physically inside of your zip code or the target area that you've selected. They can be in another state, they can be in another country, and if they just Google the same keyword you have set up in your campaign, it'll allow your ad to show. You don't want the setting because it doesn't serve you any good to show your ads outside of the area that you're trying to get clients from. Now you may argue, well, Robert, sometimes there are people outside of my target area because they have a house here that they want to be able to find my ad from outside. That's great, but there's a way to do that. There's a way to target people outside of your target area that are interested in your service within the area that you do it, and that is done through a separate campaign, which could be nationwide, but it has to have location-specific keywords. So what you want to do at this stage is you want to select the people in or regularly in your target location. That way you ensure yourself that your ads are being super targeted, very efficient, by not showing outside of where you want them to. So after you do this, you select advanced search, right? And at this point, I highly recommend that you try to be as specific as possible. Now, if you've gotten clients that have traveled 50 miles before to come to your business, but it's not a norm, it's not something that most people will do, then don't go that far. You don't have an unlimited amount of money to throw at Google Ads. You don't have a budget a massive budget. So I would try to make the best of it by focusing on a smaller area at first and get a feel for how much your budget is able to last while targeting a small area and trying to close the easiest types of leads, because if they're closer to you, it's not going to be as hard to close or sell your service or whatever than if they're farther. So let's say that you do mobile window replacement or windshield replacement or window tinting, or you're a locksmith, or you're a plumber or an electrician, or overall HVAC services or roofer. Let's start by targeting 10 miles, 20 miles, 30 miles, right? You'll know your industry, you'll know where your clients are ideally, or you could target by cities or zip codes, depending on what areas you want to focus on. Maybe you know specifically this zip code has a higher income and I want to focus on these higher income homes for my roofing jobs, then do that. And you can add multiple locations. So this is where you'll do that. Let's just set up an example, 20151. It'll tell you how many people it can reach, or we can do a radius around 20151 as well to make sure we're willing to go to all sides. It's a big radius. 20 miles is a lot of space. Probably won't want to go as far as Alexandria. Let me just try with 5 miles. Nice. Yeah, definitely. This looks a lot better. Doles. Okay, great. So we go ahead and save it. Make sure again before you save this next step that you have this selected. And that is one of the most important things. Now you're guaranteeing yourself that your ads are only going to be in this area. Next is the language. By default, you have English, of course, but if you wanted to also target Hispanics, you can target Spanish as well. Now, here's one of the most common questions. How do I know how much budget I need to run a successful Google Ads campaign? Well, it's actually not that difficult. It's all in the numbers. You need to first find out what is the cost per click for the keyword that you want to focus on, the bread and butter keyword. So let's say you're a roofer, and your customer is going to Google roofing companies near me, or affordable roofers, or roofing companies with financing. Then what you do is you go right here to the top right hand corner where it says tools and settings. Underneath planning, you'll see the option for keyword planner. And let's just go ahead and do this example. Well, it's not saved, so I'm not going to do it right this second, but in the keyword planner, what you'll do is you'll target the same city you're targeting right now, so Chantilly, so that it gives you real numbers, accurate information, and then you're going to type in your keyword roofing companies or roofing companies near me. It'll tell you what the average cost per click is in your target location, and it'll give you a very close estimate. So then what you do is you say to yourself, okay, right, so it's going to cost me $15 to show up in the first four places for the keyword roofing companies in Chantilly. Then, just like a normal store, not every visitor is going to turn into a buyer or a customer. So you need to have enough budget. I'd recommend, I mean, if the budget is small, then um, do at least enough budget to get 5 clicks in a given day. Because out of 5 clicks, after you've set up the campaign as I'm showing you, which is very, very targeted, very advanced, then you can go ahead and expect to get some inquiries. And obviously, if you're selling a very expensive service, then it doesn't matter to get, spend $65 on a click if you get a good quality lead that you can manage to close. So I'd recommend a budget, again, of at least enough to pay for 5 clicks in a day. Because if you get 5 clicks in the morning, your budget's done for the day, and you got to wait till the next day for the system to reset, and that means your ad stops showing. So the more clicks you can afford to get in a day, the better, but a minimum would be 5. Definitely don't start a campaign if you can only afford 1 or 2 clicks. You're not going to get anywhere. It's going to take forever. You're just going to be pouring money. It's going to make you impatient. You're going to have a bad experience. So we'll do $60 a day. Now, you want to choose a manual cost per click. Now, there's a lot of options when you click here that seem very tempting because it says automated. And if you're new to this and you don't do this for a living, then automated is kind of what your instinct's going to pull towards. You're going to want something done for you, easy. You're going to take Google's word for it, and that's great. But since this is a new campaign, there isn't any historical data, there's no conversion data, there's really no way for you to use maximize clicks per conversions because the system doesn't know that there have been any conversions. So it's not going to work well. You can't do target return on ad spend either. There's no historical data, target cost per acquisition. I would highly recommend at all stages to use manual cost per click because all the metrics that you need to determine what your ad rank is and what you should be paying and what your competitors are paying are here in the system. So this will give you full control over how much you bid for specific keywords, and it'll make you more efficient. So manual cost per click. Your ad schedule, unless you're an emergency service like a locksmith working 24/7, I don't think you should invest in paying for clicks for people that are Googling between midnight and 6 o'clock in the morning. I've generally found it's rubbish. It's a lot of just sometimes it could be competitors, anything. It could be a mixed bag. So I highly recommend to focus your ads to show within hours that you could actually attend the phone, or your staff could respond to a client or answer an email or anything. So choose whatever works best within your office hours, unless you're a business that you feel that your consumers might be Googling late in the evenings when they get out of work and are home in their bed, Facebooking or just kind of searching in general. Then if they're active at that time and you feel that it'll be relevant for your ad to show them, by all means, run the ad till 10 o'clock at night. But anything after midnight and 1 o'clock in the morning or 6 o'clock in the morning is kind of rubbish for most businesses. So this is where you would do that. Now, the ad rotation. Ad rotation um, is actually the copy of the ad that people are going to see on the results page of Google. It is a best practice that you have 2 ads at all times per ad group. What this does is it allows you to test if there's 100 people searching and your ad comes up 100 times on Google, it'll be 50 times it'll show this one ad that you've made and 50 times another ad that you've made. And what this allows you to do is A/B testing. You can put in the headline um, plumbing services Chantilly if that's your business, and in the other headline you can test it with discounts on plumbing services during October or something like that. So you'll be able to see which one of the ads gets clicked on the most often, which is the click-through rate, and whichever one has a higher click-through rate is generally the best performing ad, and that's the one that you want to keep. And what you can do is, after you've seen data for over 30 days and you see there's a gap, you can get the underperforming ad and edit it to change, the copy and see which one continues to perform after the next 30 days, right? So what you'll do here is you'll choose do not optimize, rotate ads indefinitely. Ad extensions are super, super important because there are additional spaces where you can add information about your business. So if financing is an option you offer, or if money back guarantee, or if you have hundreds of happy clients, or if you have video testimonials, or anything that can make you sound more credible or more reputable, then this is where you could take advantage of it. Also, you can add your phone number to pop up with the ad on the right hand side. It's not going to always happen because Google has their own way of measuring what ad extension to show along with your main ad, but it will happen a lot of times. And it's important that if someone's on a cell phone and they see the ad, they don't necessarily have to click on the headline of the ad to visit your website. If they already know that the ad says what they're looking for, they can click on the phone number that showed up next to the ad and it'll open up their dial pad and get you that phone call. So definitely really important to do the call extension, call out extensions as well, site link extensions, structured snippets, and several other. Great. So now we're going to create the ad groups. Now the ad groups are to group together keywords that are very similar. That way you can have different bids and target different types of ways that someone would Google something that you want to show for. So if it's plumbing services, you can name the ad group. This is not the keyword. This is just the name of the ad group. So the little umbrella or the place where the keywords are going to be grouped into. So the ad group name, plumbing services. And here we could have a default bid of, let's say, $10. The default bid at ad group level is not important because what really matters is when you set up the keywords, what is the bid that you assign to the keyword? That is the one that the system's going to recognize as your max cost per click that you're willing to pay at the moment of the auction. So the default bid for the ad group does not matter. You can put $100 if you want. The one that really matters is the one that you assign at the keyword level, which is the core. So let's say the keyword here is plumbing services. I'm going to use what is called a broad match modifier, which are these plus signs. And the reason why is because this is telling the system that I want to show up for someone that Googles plumbing services, but I don't want it to be super strict. If the person on the other end of the computer wants to Google best plumbing services or affordable plumbing services, I want them to be able to have flexibility in what they type. As long as they're including plumbing and services in their query, it'll still trigger my ad. Now it's important to keep in mind that after this step, there's also the opportunity to add negative keywords. Now, negative keywords are going to protect your budget against rubbish queries. So if someone's looking for plumbing services magazine, or plumbing services marketing, or plumbing services website, or plumbing services for hire, or something that's not really someone looking for the job, then you can use those negative keywords and add them to the ad group or campaign level, and that is going to block your ad from popping up for irrelevant queries. Because not just because it's not that they just add in plumbing and services and you want to show up for everyone. You also don't want to show up even if they Google plumbing services magazine, right? Because you're not selling a magazine. Now this step right here, I'm not going to rush through it. This is a step that you really need to take a lot of time to think about because it's the message that is going to pop up on Google, and you want to make sure that you check that the message is concise, that it's attractive, that it has really good unique selling propositions, and that it triggers an emotional response. I mean, as a consumer, I want to be able to Google and read an ad that says, how you're going to solve my problem, and that way I'll feel inclined to click on the ad and get on the phone with you and hire your services. So what you'll do is you'll type, as it says, a final URL. So if you have a website that has multiple pages in it, and you have a specific page for plumbing services, and maybe you have another one for commercial plumbing, or maybe you have another one for different types of things that you do, you want to take them to the very most relevant page that you have set up. As long as it has a good call to action, like a phone number or a contact form, you want to make sure you drive that traffic there, right? Not just always to your home page, but if they're Googling plumbing services and you have that, take them there. So you'll copy the URL from your website and paste it there. And then in your headline 1, headline 2, headline 3, this display path URL is for visual purposes, like the word says display. It doesn't mean that it has to be an active website. This is just to make your ad and the website seem even more relevant. So if, let's say your website is www.roberts.com, that doesn't have anything to do with plumbing. But what you can do is here where it says path 1, you could add the word plumbing, and then we can choose Chantilly, and then the person that sees your ad on Google is going to read that your website is roberts.com/plumbing/Chantilly, and that's going to seem more relevant to them than just reading that they're going to roberts.com website. It's going to seem like it's really specific about what they just Googled, and it'll take them to whatever page you set up here as your final URL. This one has to be real. This one is just for display. Then you add your description number 1, description number 2, test, and I'm just going to do test, test, test. Okay. Great. So you've successfully set up your search campaign for your local service. Now, going back to the keywords, you want to make sure you use a lot of negative keywords. If not, you might end up paying for a lot of junk traffic. There's a lot of different things that people can be searching for that are not related to your business, but somehow they just have your keyword in it. A lot of people I've seen look for movies, reviews, website designs is big. You name it. There's a bunch of irrelevant stuff that people Google, and a lot of times they don't read the ad. They click it, and before you know it, you're paying for junk. So one way that you can get access to a good database of negative keywords is by Googling Excel negative keywords for Google Ads campaign. Or there's one file out there called Ultimate Negative Keyword List by industry. And then you could just read through them, make sure that they're not going to conflict with anything that you do want to show up for. And then you click here where it says negative keywords and add them in bulk. You can copy like 100 or 200 and then save it and add more, etc. Now, if your service is generally if you generally want to get phone calls, then I would, and you have a limited budget, let's say you're running the minimum $60 a day because your cost per clicks are pretty high, I would actually encourage you to focus your ads to only show to people who are on their cell phone, which is already almost 80% of traffic, right? That's already a given that traffic is mostly mobile now. But still, I wouldn't bother showing up on computers because a lot of times it could be solicitors um, or it could be just random companies trying to Google away for keywords. But I would focus on mobile traffic. It's much more likelier to convert, meaning turn into a phone call if they're already on their phone, especially if you set up your call extension so that your number pops up next to your ad. And that way you focus your money where you know it's going to work the most. Now, if you're a home designer, or something that most people would rather use a computer to research, then you'll need to use computers or leave that open and maybe even exclude mobile phones. If you feel that it's something that they have to see on a big screen because there's a big gallery to go explain your services, or the purchase experience is better on desktop, then by all means keep that open. So let's kind of recap the settings. So you have your goal, no goal selected. Search, you have your Google search and search partners, but not the display network. Your locations, most importantly, you want to make sure that you select this option here. This one that says exclude, you don't have to worry about excluding anything because you've already fixed that it's not going to show it to anyone outside of your area by selecting the second choice. Then you have your language, your budget. Like I said, a rule of thumb is first research using the keyword planner how much the cost per click is, and then multiply that by 5. And this is just, in my experience, the minimum that I would require a client to invest to have a fair shot of generating good leads. Bidding, manual CPC, I would recommend that always. Okay, so how do you know, and this is kind of going into the next video that I'm going to make, but next question is, how do you know how many calls you're getting from the people that are clicking on your ads? How do you know what's happening after they click on your ad? Are they filling out a contact form? How do you know who's going to get the credit for generating the form submissions that you're starting to get? Is it the SEO, your organic ranking? Is it the paid ads? Is it your Facebook traffic? Well, in order to do that, you have to use analytics. And analytics is, if you don't already know, it's a dashboard. It's a code. First of all, you install it on your website, and it gives you a dashboard so that you can see exactly everything that happens on your website. Where the visitors are coming from. Are they coming from paid ads and landing on your website and then visiting multiple pages, or leaving immediately, or clicking around? Is it coming from your SEO, or is it coming from Facebook? Then you can also create goals in Google Analytics, and the goals you can later import into your Google Ads campaign, so that if there's leads that are coming in from the paid ads, you can know down to the keyword, the day, the hour, or even the device that generated the lead for you. And then you can continue to optimize towards that. So I'm going to wrap it up for today. I'll make another video tomorrow, a little bit more in depth of how to set up conversion goals and import them to Google Ads, and make sure that you're tracking calls and form submissions correctly. And if you have any questions, feel free to submit them, or you can Google me, Robert Samayoa. I obviously practice what I preach, or as someone said, someone very famous said, I eat my own cooking. So there's not a whole lot of competition for Robert Samayoa, so I created a campaign targeting my name, which makes it easy for you to find me, Robert Samayoa, and you can send me any questions you have, or we can book a consultation. All right.